News, politics, entertainment, and more. Welcome to The Informant. Independent talk, pursuing truth, informing everyone. Now, here is The Informant, Eric Thompson.
Hey, good evening to you. Welcome to The Informant. Thank you so much for joining me. For those of you out on the East Coast, good morning to you. And for those listening on a podcast or a later version of this, welcome, regardless of what time it is. But I'm just glad you sit in with me as I go over issues as I see it as a conservative independent in a country that I served in the Marine Corps in that is getting hit on all sides. Tonight, our show, we're going to go over the perfect storm to destroy America is forming. Well, that's kind of a bummer, isn't it, Eric? Well, if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can go on my social media websites or my website, the-informant.com, or you can head over to social media websites, look up Informant-show or Eric Thompson or Deplorable Show, but you will end up finding me. But tonight we're going to go over the different things that I see, and I've been seeing them for quite a while. And I tell people technology, artificial intelligence will take 40% of the jobs in the next 10 years. Oh, okay, Eric. I'm like, do you understand what that means? Illegal immigration is getting worse as the globalists know that we are full at our borders. So the new people that come to the border, with children especially, have to be let go like they're doing in El Paso and other places on our border where there's nowhere to put them. So as an article from Breitbart we're going to look at, and it's saying that it's possible for the people that they can kind of estimate, and I think it's higher than this even, but they're saying 1.5 million more illegal aliens will come in the country this year. There's a lot of people that they don't catch, that they are not accounted for, so maybe that number's 2.5 million. There's hundreds of thousands of foreign workers coming over on H-1 and H-2 visas. Some of the stories you've heard about stabbings and rapes were legal aliens or aliens that were here on visas. H-2 would be like a service industry job, construction job. But they overstay the visa and then they hurt people because we don't have the resources to hunt down the hundreds of thousands of people that are here that have overstayed their visa. Then you have Sharia Islam that's growing, and you're going to be shocked that not too far down the road, according to a CNN article, it'll be the second largest religion in the United States during our lifetimes. And then you have Marxism. So all these things are happening simultaneously. And you'll hear me say it a lot. As a conservative independent, I'm a President Trump supporter because his policies are in line with what I'm looking for. So we can say President Trump is winning in certain areas. So he's winning, but at the same time, we're losing, and I'll explain that as I go through the show. So again, thank you for listening to The Informant here, and let's jump in to what I'm going to try to unpack for you. The perfect storm to destroy the United States that we like and we want to fight to preserve. Article here from the Wall Street Journal. The two Americas have grown much fiercer. The U.S. was divided 46 years ago, but no one saw it as a fight to the death. This is from Peggy Noonan. She said, sometimes you write about the most obvious things in the world because it's the most important thing. Reaction to the outcome of Robert Mueller's investigation shows Americans again how divided we are. If you are more or less on the left, you experience the probe as a search for truth that could restore the previous world of politics. Instead, the traitor got away with it. You feel destabilized, deflated. If you're on the Trumpian right, it was from the beginning an attempted coup, the establishment using everything it had to remove a force it could not deal with at the polls. You are energized and elated. And she continues on. I will never forget seeing on the cover of a Time magazine in October 1972 an essay by Lance Morrill that was ostensibly about the last days of the race between Richard Nixon and George McGovern, but really about something bigger. She said she was in college. It struck me hard. It was called The Two Americas. Time magazine cover, 1972. The Two Americas. And was elegantly written. It says the candidates were so unlike each other that they seemed to represent different instincts about America. Quote, they suggested almost two different countries, two different cultures, two different Americas, Mr. Morrill wrote. The McGovern campaign marches to the rhythm of the long Wagnerian 60s, racial upheaval, the war, feminism, the sexual revolution. McGovernites had a more romantic conception of what leadership could be and should be. In Nixon's America, on the other hand, there was a sense of system. The free enterprise system, the law and order system, even the family unit system. They were protective of it, grateful to it. And the antonym of their idea of system wasn't utopia, it was chaos. They are apprehensive of the disorders that the late 60s did to them, the turmoils that they suspect a McGovern accession might bring, and they wanted evolution, not revolution. So, a lot of times, you'll hear me and you'll hear other people, are we headed toward a civil war? Another civil war? I talk to a lot of people. I've spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, so I've talked to thousands of people that work at Google, Apple, Facebook, etc. Talked to globalists from Germany. Been able to travel quite a bit. And the world has been marching toward, this globalization. I had an interesting day one time when I was in the Bay Area because I did Uber, and I picked up a young man from China that was working for a tech company. I picked up a young man from India that was working for a tech company, and then I picked up an American that was working for a tech company. So since the first one from China had said that a lot of us young people, we believe that when the older people in China die off, then our generation can kind of fix things and make it kumbaya globally. Well, then I asked the next guy, the Indian guy, what do you think about what's going to happen in India? Well, as the older people die off, then our generation can help India become kumbaya globally. And then the American kid said the same thing. There is your danger of social media. Spreading this globalization with a common message. And the whole plan is let's just ignore the aging population, and then we have all the answers because we're 25 and we work at a tech company. Well, this is the AOCs and the people that are in the government now. And as they went through college, a lot of them in economics class would sit through a Karl Marx economics book. Now, Karl Marx is basically Marxism, communism, democratic socialism is being taught at the universities, and the colleges are pouring out Marxist. So, quickly I'll go through this. This is part of what I think the perfect storm, which is a terrible thing, but I think it's in motion. This is an article. It says the 10 Planks of the Communist Manifesto, 1948, by Karl Heinrich Marx. This is what the kids are being taught at college. That, number one, a good thing would be the abolition of private property and land and application of all rents of land to public purpose. The government should basically run everything. You know, the more the government can have public housing and Section 8 and try to redistribute, because they'll say that housing is a right. So they tried this in Venezuela, where they took private property and land and took over industries, and look what happened. Well, this happens every time this is tried, but it's something that the colleges are getting taught. Marxism believes in a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. It started in America in 1913. Progressive income tax. The more you make, the more they take. The problem is when we get to the amount of illegal aliens pouring in the country, and the amount of people that are staying on aid, and the amount of people that are going to be going on basic universal income, which is coming probably, then if the robotics are going to take up to 40% of jobs, and illegal aliens are pouring in the country to stay, and then they're going to have children. So if 2-3 million came over this year, give it 2 generations, that'll be 10 million, 15 million more. Well, if the labor jobs have been replaced by robotics, how do they live? How do they eat? Well, the progressive tax system says we'll just tax the rich people. Hey, I do the station break. I just want to thank you for watching. If you're watching this on a video later, or if you're listening on The Informant, my name is Eric Thompson. You can be listening on Spreaker, or head over to my website, the-informant.com, or magabook.com. Look up Informant Show, and you can connect with me. Okay. So, the young people think it's okay if the government was to take over a lot of the businesses and things in the country to try to make sure that people have free college, free housing, and everything that should be guaranteed as a right. They're okay with a heavy progressive tax system. Tax the rich people because it's only fair. Abolition of all rights of inheritance. You know what? For a while there, the left was they had an inheritance tax. Marx believed in that too. Hey, if you die, you can't take it with you, so why not just let the government have a big portion of it so it can help the people that are still alive? Let's see, confiscation of property for all immigrants and rebels. Yeah, go ahead and put people in jail, and people that don't want to believe in global warming and want to fight against the system. Who knows, eventually they're going to be considered enemies of the state because they don't care that the world's going to end in 12 years. Centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank. California is actually working on, they probably won't be able to do it right now, but they're trying to work on a state bank for California. A government bank. That would be good. That's what Karl Marx thinks would be cool. Now, one of the things that happened in our national situation is that our government came up in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act. So the centralization of credit in the